G'day YouTube, Warbles on a lot here. I want to make a movie about social black hole theory via waving to the traffic. It's by way of an answer for @frugalprepper, aka Tom, in answer to a question he left on the comment thread underneath my movie Grid Power's Electric Death Spiral in the State of Surveillance, which was a movie shot with the mobile phone held onto me hat as I was driving up the road. And what Frugal Prepper says is, does everyone in Australia wave at passing cars? I only do that in the US when I have cause to wave at them with my middle finger. Ah, well, Tom, you see, short answer is no. Not everybody waves at all the traffic. That's just a bit of a personal eccentricity because I'm an oddball. The medium answer is, it's a kind of an old-fashioned politeness and it can't hurt, and I think it's nice to acknowledge that somebody's not going to come in through my windscreen, so once I can plot their trajectory and I can see from observation that the extrapolated course is going to pass safely beyond me, then, you know, I give them a bit of a wave. Thank you, yay team, that's nice, you know, you keep going there. And also, as you know, part of the observation is that it's entirely possible that the stranger coming towards me is in the middle of a bad day. They might have all sorts of reasons to be cranky or angry or miserable or depressed or whatever. And it is a finite possibility, although it's not probable, but it's a possibility, that having a total stranger wave G'day to them is one of the nicer things that's going to happen in their whole day. Because there's a lot of misery out there. There's a lot of people who are angry and cranky and feeling under pressure and all the rest of it. And if I can sort of simultaneously reward them for not coming in through my windscreen and say G'day to them, and, you know, like just generally increase the amount of happiness and pleasantry and politeness and mannerliness that is circulating in the atmosphere of the environment that I'm living in, then it's not bad and it's probably good. Therefore I do it. But as to how I came to decide that it was a good idea to wave at the traffic, well, it's a bit of a long story. If we start off with a cartographical depiction of Glenniness, we'll see that there's a road going off to the east which leads to Grafton. That bright red bitumen highway. And we also see there's a road that runs a different way, the old Grafton Road, and it's a lot windier and a lot more narrow. Now, as a kid in primary school, we nearly always went on the new road. Personally, I made 3 trips to the coast and back before they opened the new road, and it opened in 1963. So, as a little kid, first time I was making a sort of a conscious trip down the old Grafton Road, I noticed that every time he approached a car, my father slowed right down to a crawl, slow enough that the other car slowed right down to a crawl, and the drivers said G'day to each other. No long conversation, but just, you know, G'day as they passed windows. Both had their windows down, no air conditioning in those days. And I asked my father who the bloke was, and he explained that he had no idea. But the thing is, if you're on a dirt road and you maintain a high speed, not only can you throw rocks at each other's windscreens, but everybody gets to eat dust. By slowing down, you reduce the trailing dust cloud and everybody gets to continue to breathe nice air. And because you're going so slowly, you might as well say G'day, because it's, you know, going to take a couple of seconds for the windows to pass each other. And what he explained to me was, once you get out away from the highway onto the secondary and the tertiary rural roads, everything slows down and people have the time to indulge in old-fashioned courtesies. And I sort of filed that, half forgot it, left it in the permanent memory files. Many years later, say 1984, I was working at Emerville. Little tiny tin mining, once upon a time a gold mining town, 26 miles northwest of Glen Innes. When I very first started going out there, I noticed a strange phenomenon. Drive out from Glen Innes along the radial road that leads to Emerville. Glen Innes is a bit like a spider's web. And as you're running out along here towards the airport, everything was normal. Once you got around this bend here, along that straight, all of a sudden, strange phenomenon. Every car, the driver was waving to me. Every one of them. All the way to Emerville. And I thought, well, maybe it's because I'm the only new registered nurse in town and they all recognise my car. But still, it seemed like a strange sort of phenomenon. So I asked the other nurses at the hospital what the story was. And they said, oh, well, yeah, some people will be waving to you because they know who you are and they're being friendly and welcoming. Other people, they don't know who the car belongs to and they don't know whether one of their friends or relatives or neighbours has got themselves a new car and they don't want to be thought of as a snob. So they wave to every car whether they know who owns it or not. And I filed that away. It seemed like a strange idea, and I took part in the ritual of waving to every car on the Emerville side of the Glen Innes airport, but it seemed a bit weird to me. And then in 1985 or 86, maybe 87, when I was living 5 miles northwest of Emerville, 5 miles from the nearest other farmhouse, I was listening to the radio in front of the open fire and I heard a bloke talking about what he called social black hole theory. And he said social black holes are places where time moves more slowly and new ideas take longer to filter in. And he listed or cited New South Wales country towns and the whole of white South Africa, which at the time was still existing under an apartheid regime. So according to his theory, Sydney might be 5 years or so behind New York, and New York might be 5 years or so behind San Francisco, which was leading the world in silicon sensibilities. And he figured that the newness of the culture radiated out along the highways. So that Armidale might be 5 years behind Sydney, and Glen Innes might be 5 years behind Armidale, and Emerville, where they didn't get electricity till 1958, might be 5 or 10 years behind Glen Innes. So you had reservoirs of old-fashioned ideas. And if it's new and high-tech and marvellously progressive to live like bloody sardines and ignore everybody else except when you're snarling at them, or trying to rob them or being afraid that they're going to rob you, if that's new and high-tech and progressive, then I think I prefer living in a social black hole. I think there's something to be said for living in a social black hole. I think living out there beyond the fringes of civilization, so-called, somewhere where time moves more slowly and everybody's polite and friendly to everybody else, might be a whole lot better than living like lemmings and priding oneself on how well one can race with all the other rats. So there you go, Tom. That's the complicated long answer as to why it is that I wave to the traffic, even though I'm on the highway where the convention is not to wave to strangers. What I'm trying to do is push back the boundaries of the social black hole, shift the event horizon, make a little bit of old-fashioned politeness, move back into the mainstream of the society that I live within or on the outside fringes of. And to be honest, once I get more than halfway to Inverell, or more than halfway to Armadale, or more than halfway to Grafton, or more than halfway to Tenterfield, I pretty much feel like I've moved beyond the limits of my home patch, and by that stage my wrist's starting to get tired from waving to strangers. So that's it. It's really, it's only when I'm on my home turf that I get to be a temporal social activist and try and hold back the wave of the future. But I can't see that it hurts to be polite, even on the highway. So anyway, while I'm here, I might as well answer the other comments on that thread. Adolf Hitler says that he's at the Deepwater Inn and he wants me to drop in for a beer. Well, yeah, fair enough, mate. I only go that far north when I'm going to the dump, and I just went to the dump, so I'll see you in a month or two, I suppose. But I will make a point of, putting time in the day to drop into the Deepwater Inn and say good day to Adolf Hitler. Walkabout 16 says, so no refunds on the bottles. Well, mate, those bottles come from South Australia, and if you're in South Australia, then yes, there's a refund, but I'm in New South Wales, and I guess they reckon the cost of trucking them back to South Australia is not worth the refund, so nobody collects them in New South Wales, and they all just go off for recycling. They melt them down instead of washing them and reusing them. And then Richard Refried Bean Dip says, damn it, Chris, I waited to see the labour-intense offloading of the bottles only to be booted out of the cinema just before the climactic event. Well, sorry about that, Richard, but you see, I didn't know how long the movie had run for, and I'm not sure I can go beyond 25 minutes, and it was actually 23 minutes and something. The other thing is I was wearing the camera, or the phone as a head camera, and I had not discussed the manoeuvre with the bloke who works at the dump, and I didn't want to ruin like a 23-minute movie that was already in the can by having him spit the dummy when he come face to face with me with a camera on the top of me hat. And he comes over and helps me offload the bottles, you see. So the only polite thing to do was end the movie before he got in frame. So, there you go. The long answer to why I wave at traffic is because I'm pushing back the event horizon of the social black hole. I disapprove of modernity and much of progress. And, yeah, I wave at traffic. Warbles on a lot to YouTube. Ciao.